Well, we told you this was coming, and would you look at that? Do you see that? That's not Bitcoin. That's not a shitcoin. That's not even a meme stock. That, my friends, is the US dollar collapsing. For 12 months plus, the US dollar has been in a decline, falling 10% in 2025 in its worst year since 2017. So, when you see this, or even this, understand it's all a lie, but not for the reasons you might think. These things aren't necessarily gaining value. The dollar is losing value. It's collapsing, and the pace is accelerating. We're witnessing the death of the dollar, not the growth of the economy. We also may have got the go for liftoff, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin is about to go nuclear, and the entire world will be watching. Fiat doomsday is upon us, and that also means the opportunity and the arbitrage of the century are here as well. It doesn't matter whether this is intentional or not, because the ending is the same. Bitcoin rips the tits off everything and goes nuclear. We have a massive show today, so strap in and prepare for liftoff. It's go time. Thunder!
Mr. President, with the current value of the dollar, do you think it's declined too much?
No, I think it's great. I mean, the value of the dollar, look at the business we're doing. No, dollar's doing great.
You want to see it decline?
You know, it's very interesting. If you look at China and Japan, I used to fight like hell with them because they always wanted to devalue their yen. You know that? The yen and the yuan. And they'd always want to devalue it. They devalue. And I said, not fair that you devalue because it's hard to compete when they devalue. But they always fought, no, our dollar's very good.
Listen, it is what it is. And this is so bullish for Bitcoin. They're going to have to print so much money. Bitcoin is really priced with how much fiat currency is sloshing around in the world. And in order for all of this to play out and work, we have to debase our currency. We have to devalue our debt. And we have to create more fiat. It's going to send Bitcoin nuclear.
Let's talk about the US dollar, because what happened yesterday was not an accident. The most revealing part? President Trump didn't even defend the dollar. He welcomed its weakness. And that matters. Objectively, the US dollar just logged its worst year in 8 years. Trump sees the dollar as a yo-yo, something he can swing up or down at will. A quiet admission that this isn't out of control. It's more like a controlled demolition. So ask yourself, if he can strengthen the dollar whenever he wants, why didn't he? Well, because a weaker dollar does the job. It means lower rates. It means stronger exports. It means shrinking trade deficits. It means higher nominal GDP. And most importantly, for us, it means higher asset prices. Stocks, real estate, hard assets, Bitcoin. So no, what we saw yesterday wasn't noise. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't panic. It was a signal. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. For over a year now, the US dollar has been bleeding. 12 plus months of steady decline. Again, down 10% in 2025 alone. It's the worst year since 2017. Trump said the value of the dollar is great. That's it. And the market heard it loud and clear. Immediately, the dollar dropped another 1%, crashing to its lowest level since February 2022. It was a signal that the White House is comfortable with a weaker dollar, and it means economic stimulus without saying the word QE. This is policy, and if you're still sitting in cash, hoping this reverses, bad news. The message is simple now. Own assets or get left behind. Don't take it from me, just listen to Ray Dalio.
When we look at the prices of things through the lens of the value of money, they go up, okay? Because the value of money goes down. When the value of money goes down, it goes up. So it's very interesting to me when you see like people looking at things. Think about it that the currency that you're looking through, I'm sure there are a bunch of different currencies and countries that you're in. If you were in Switzerland and you're looking at the returns of American stocks and bonds, it would look very different than if you were an American looking through a dollar lens and so on, because of the magnitudes of movements. So, for example, last year, American markets significantly underperformed foreign markets, and people don't quite realize that. And the best asset class, in a sense, was gold, but think of that as being the money. So, in answer to your question, okay, I've learned, that was a lesson I learned, that if there's a depreciation in the value of money, it makes everything look like it's going up and so on. And there's also a stimulation that comes from that.
And here's billionaire investor Ron Barron explaining the silent math that's destroying your wealth.
What happened is the value of your money falls 4 or 5% a year. That's inflation. Falls 4 or 5% a year, and the economic growth has been about 2% a year. So it's about 7% a year growth, and that means everything doubles in 10 years. The value of your money falls in half every 15 years. So you got to make twice what you're making today in 15 years to stay even. And so stock market, so Bitcoin's been amazing, obviously.
Here's the breakdown. Fiat confidence eroding, not just the dollar. The fundamental issue isn't that the US currency is being replaced. It's that trust in all heavy indebted fiat systems is evaporating. Central banks are buying gold fast. Reserve managers around the world are shifting away from developed market bonds, including US, European and Japanese debt, and loading up on gold. That's because gold doesn't owe anything to anyone and can't be diluted by monetary policy. Sound familiar? There's a better version. It's called Bitcoin, but this is not fiat swap de-dollarization. Because, well, if there was a real shift into a competing currency, euro, yen, yuan, we'd see data showing that. But dollar reserve share remains dominant and stable. Once you strip out valuation effects, no other fiat is coming close. In a stable full of ugly pigs, it's the only one wearing lipstick. The dollar still rules global finance. It's still used in roughly 90% of Forex transactions and around half of the SWIFT payments globally, far more than any alternative currency. So what's really going on? The world is punishing debt and fiat promise. Not the US dollar specific. Governments want cheap financing, persistent deficits, and inflation-friendly policy. But the confidence cost of that is rising. The system isn't moving from dollar hegemony to yuan hegemony. It's moving toward gold and hard money as the ultimate reserve asset. No government actually wants a strong currency because it puts them at a disadvantage. Strong currency limits their ability to inflate and spend, which those two things together are basically like heroin for our government. And they got the itch. Now, how much demand does all this create for Bitcoin? Well, the end of Keynesian paper promises looks to be fuel for what this ETF issuer just said on Bloomberg. 97 trillion of potential demand. And $1 million Bitcoin within the decade rolling.
If you look at the Wall Street in terms of $100 trillion, about $3 trillion has come into the crypto space. So essentially, you have $97 trillion that are still sitting there. And there's a good chunk of that money that's going to continue to migrate into the crypto space. So I think they're the Bitcoin hesitant, and actually the third wave. I see the first two waves as being the unregulated wave, the regulated wave, and now that third wave is the Bitcoin hesitant, which I think a majority of those happen to be financial advisors who take a little bit longer to warm up to a new asset class, but they're gatekeepers of 30 trillion in assets. So I think from a fiduciary risk standpoint and helping clients get in for the long run, we believe Bitcoin's headed to $1 million over the next decade. So that's the long-term play. We want our shareholders to be able to take part in that, and we think giving them the S&P base is the smart play to do that.
Still bearish if you ask me, but now another question here. With this all being done with intent, what is the end game? Could we be looking at a new Bretton Woods? A Mar-a-Lago Accords, if you will. Well, let's see what Larry Lepard has to say about it. But before we do, look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe. I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Let's take a moment to recognize our sponsors powering this show over at the Bitcoin Way. At the Bitcoin Way, they'll walk you through all things Bitcoin, like it's kindergarten with Satoshi. From setting up your first wallet to running your first node and so much more. No tech skills needed. The Bitcoin Way has got you covered. You want $1 million Bitcoin? Better act like it. Self-custody is not optional. That is the revolution. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the Bitcoin Way today using that link in the show notes. Today's show is brought to you by Ledn. If you ever need cash without selling your Bitcoin, Ledn makes that possible. The global leader in Bitcoin-backed lending, Ledn has issued over $9 billion in loans since 2018, and they have a perfect record of protecting client assets. No credit checks, funds in less than 6 hours, no monthly payments, repay whenever you want with zero penalties, and proof of reserves reports, verified by a top accounting firm, are published every 6 months. Ledn gives Bitcoin holders a secure, transparent way to unlock liquidity without selling. Learn more at learn.ledn.io/simply. That's learn.ledn.io/simply.
And I've talked about this on other pods, is that Trump and or Bessent, do something really, really bold, which is to try and do a monetary reset. And I don't know if they have the political space. I don't know if they have the guts. But, we could theoretically skip the, let's go to super high inflation, the country tears itself apart and currency fails by, Bessent waking up one morning and Trump saying, we're going to revalue gold at $30,000. We're going to revalue Bitcoin at $1 million coin. And, the government will now exchange your dollars for either of those two things. Bring us $1 million, we'll give you a Bitcoin. Bring us your ounce of gold, we'll give you 25,000, or give us 25,000, we'll give you an ounce of gold. And we are now on a sound money standard, period. And, 1971, gone, done. Oh, and by the way, we're going to balance the budget by, basically cutting expenses here and there. And we, the TGA would be revalued, and that markup of the TGA would be used to pay down the government debt. I mean, if they did that, it would be enormously painful for bondholders. It would be enormously one-time inflationary, but it would, so it's like ripping off the Band-Aid. It would hurt like shit. But, on a go-forward basis, we would actually have a sound money solution. Now, that's my 10% case, because I don't know that they'll have the guts to do it.
And we're at that point in gold. Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin's about to shoot up. I do think 2026 is going to be a good year because I think they're going to have to print the money. And again, when they actually print the money is when Bitcoin goes. Gold always front runs the money printing. Bitcoin outperforms it when they actually print it. And this case is made, like, again, with this slide. And, these charts I got from Twitter, so shout out to their authors. But this slide titled "The Liquidity Cometh." What are we looking at? We're looking at the RSI at the very bottom, those green and red. Okay, that is the US 10-year multiplied by the Chinese 10-year. And what that is saying is this is basically indicating when liquidity is tight from nation states versus when liquidity is abundant, when they're printing a lot of money. And it just crossed up where they're about to start printing a lot of money. What do I mean by that? Quantitative tightening is ending. We know QE either is about to start or has started. It depends what you count the Fed doing today. But we're about to enter a pro-liquidity cycle. We know the Fed's balance sheet went from $9 trillion to $6 trillion. And I think not only is it going to go up again, but it's going to go from around $6 trillion and make new all-time highs and exceed $9 trillion. I think they're going to have to print an ungodly amount of money. We know Trump has not only not reduced the budget, but he wants to grow our defense budget by, he wants to take it from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion. We know that true interest expense is greater than our receipts. I mean, we have all sorts of problems. But every single time this liquidity marker starts to break up, Bitcoin goes on a tear. Why? Well, because they're actually printing money. They're not talking about printing money. They're not forecasting printing money. They're actually expanding the balance sheets. That's just happening. So to me, the combination of, okay, we've been in a gold bear market for a little over a year. Okay, they're about to start printing money. And you pair that with the fact that, like, globalism, according to the United States, is dead, which means the current version of the US dollar and the world reserve currency is over. It's dead.
So what did we learn? Well, we learned this isn't the actual doomsday clock. This is. and nothing stops this train. I agree with Mahler's. 2026 looks to be like an explosive year for Bitcoin. So which way, Western man? Debasement or Valhalla? You choose. And the possibility of World War III is higher than ever, which is probably a good time to visit our new sponsor, Sat123. Because when cell service dies, life doesn't have to. Sat123 hooks you up with real satellite phones, Starlink kits, and rugged off-grid internet that works anywhere. Mountains, ocean, middle of nowhere, it doesn't matter. If you care about preparedness, freedom, and staying connected when it actually counts, go to sat123.com. That's sat123.com, and don't forget to use promo code SIMPLY for 15% off. No signal? No problem. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what you think below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp. Share this sound money gospel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Love you guys. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.